Hello, it's October 4th. I'm Ezra Levant, and this is Battleground.
I think that youth, like the next generation, can...
Whoops, we showed you the wrong graphic there, folks. We were just going to have a little fancy introduction, but we'll get right down to it. Hey, what do? Every Friday, I sit in this chair at around 12 noon Eastern time, if I'm not somewhere where I don't have access to the internet. And we have what YouTube calls a live chat, super chat. Super chat's the funny word they use for it. It's live chat as normal. You can see at the right-hand side of the screen. But if you chip in a few dollars, pesos, pounds, or whatever foreign currency, your comment gets put in a bright highlight. I see it out of the corner of my eye because my laptop's open. It's right here. And I make sure to read those, even if they're a little bit irritating, annoying, crazy, or silly. In fact, that's what makes it a little bit fun. And the good news is that we get 70% of those revenues. YouTube doesn't quite demonetize the super chats. At least they haven't done that with us. It's great to have you here. We've had a really exciting week at The Rebel. As you know, we cover events from around the world. We cover American politics like everyone else on the planet. We're interested in Donald Trump and the battle against him. We're very interested in Tommy Robinson in the United Kingdom. As you know, he was released from prison about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I flew to the UK for that event. We interviewed Tommy this week about the great news that John Sweeney, the journalist behind the Panorama attack series that was aiming for Tommy, he was fired from the BBC last week, so we actually talked to Tommy this past week. But mainly, so that's, I refer to the United States and the UK, but mainly, we're focused on Canada. I mean, that's where our headquarters is. I'm sitting here in Toronto, Canada. And Justin Trudeau is having a rough go of it. I don't think anyone expected this Canadian election to go quite the way it is. It was shaping up to be the ugliest thing ever seen. It was going to be literally 35 days. As you know, the Canadian election campaign is very truncated. It's usually just over a month. It was going to be 35 days of calling people racist, sexist, anti-gay, Islamophobic, transphobic. It was just going to be deplatforming style opposition research. Oh, in 1999, you made this comment. I guess Twitter wasn't even around back then. That's how it was shaping up until Time magazine in the United States published a bombshell picture of Justin Trudeau in blackface. And that sort of blew up the whole Liberal campaign because they didn't really have a policy campaign. It was just going to be a demonizing the Conservatives campaign. And you can't really do that when you have been revealed to do blackface, not just once or twice, but again and again and again for decades. This was the most startling picture. By the way, if anyone's seen Aladdin, and really who hasn't, Aladdin ain't black. As Trevor Noah joked, that's Aladdin in blackface. That's not even Aladdin. I want to make a point about that. So Time magazine rolled out that photo that we just showed there, and it was so startling. But within hours, other media outlets rolled out another picture of Trudeau in blackface when he was younger, and then a video of him in blackface was rolled out by Global News. I think the CBC had one photo, Global News had a video, and they both released them that same night. So let me tell you the meaning of that. Time magazine broke the biggest, baddest story, and that's an incredible picture of him, and it's when he was 29 years old. So it wasn't some youthful indiscretion. He was actually a teacher then. So that sounds like a bombshell, scoop, exclusive. But the fact that Global News and the CBC rolled out their images of Trudeau in blackface within hours tells you most obviously that they had them. They were sitting on them. They had chosen not to release them. They were colluding in the conspiracy of silence. They were sitting on them. Now, this high-quality video of this only came out later, but Global had the low quality. Look at that. He stuffed his trousers, and It's one thing to be black-faced. This guy's got black knees, black tongue. He's got a black tongue. Black knees, black hands. I think he must have done the blackface shtick all the time. I really think he had like a kit at home. I don't know what that is. Like what, in that original photo when he was pretending to be a blackface Aladdin, he had his hand on Mariam Matosian's chest. Now, did that leave like a black handprint on every girl's dress that night? Like what is it that would make him touch someone and not rub off on them? And he put it all over his face. Like that's a great attention to detail. On his knee, on his tongue. I think his tongue was black. What was he using to make everything so black? And he did this again and again and again and again. And he had wigs and he had shtick. And it was like he had a tickle trunk or something, this weird like chest that he would open up, and it's this thing that he went to for decades. And apparently everybody knew, but nobody talked about it look at that. That's when he was, and that's when you're a high schooler. And you know what? What a guy does in high school, I almost don't even care. You're not an adult yet. I think he should have known better. But when you're a teenager, I almost don't even care what you do as a teenager. But when you're a 29-year-old man. But my biggest point is that the rest of the media knew. They were holding it back. So we've had a campaign, I'm going to say it's been about nothing, but that's not quite true. It's the vetting of Justin Trudeau that ought to have happened 4 years ago. J.J. McCullough has a column in the Washington Post that we never really vetted Trudeau, did we? And by we, I don't mean we, I mean the media party. The people who, instead of vetting Trudeau, Globe Mail sent 5 reporters to find out, well, who was the guy who gave the yearbook photo to Time magazine? What were his motivations? Really, that's a more important news story than the blackface itself. CBC also put 5 people on the beat. I see the super chats coming in. I will get to them. Let me just get warmed up, folks. Let me just build up a head of steam. I will come back to the super chats. And Martin and Efren, if I miss them, can you just slap them all in an email and send them to me so I won't skip them? I see those guys. I'll come back to them. I haven't forgotten you. So what do you do in a campaign that's about nothing? And I say it's about nothing because I got to tell you, I don't really know what Andrew Scheer stands for, too. I mean, yes, I see his boilerplate announcements every day, but I got to tell you, I don't find them very convincing. I don't really know. I mean, just as I say in full candor, that the only issue that Justin Trudeau really cared about in the last 4 years was marijuana legalization. It's the only one he actually took a personal interest in because he's a lifelong marijuana smoker. What's the only thing that Andrew Scheer passionately believes in? Does he stand up for the oil and gas industry passionately? Not really. He whipped all the conservative MPs to vote for the UN global warming scheme. That's really weird. That's not what you do if you love oil and gas and pipelines. Will he prune back some liberal policies? Yeah, maybe. He has not yet answered if he will end the journalism bailout. He obviously won't. He won't privatize the CBC. He obviously won't. And this week on the CBC, he said he completely supports Ahmed Hassan's $350,000 a year immigration goal, which, by the way, is a significant increase from where it is now. So I'm trying to find a substantive, serious difference between Andrew Scheer and Justin Trudeau on policy, and I really don't know. The one thing we know Andrew Scheer believes in, and he'll never be shaken from it, what he cares about, the same way Trudeau cares about marijuana, for Andrew Scheer, it's the dairy cartels. He will do anything for those folks. So I think it's an election about nothing, and into that void, well, the strangest shenanigans will creep. I mean, nature abhors a vacuum. So one of the things we've noticed, as you know, and we had a super chat on on Monday when our friend David Menzies was arrested at an Andrew Scheer event. Can we grab the B-roll of him, actually the sound on tape of him actually being handcuffed and saying the questions that he would want to say? If you have those there quickly, I know Andrew Coyne actually tweeted that short video clip. It was from Glenn McGregor's Twitter feed. It was when David was handcuffed and he was saying out loud the questions he would have put to Andrew Scheer if he had been permitted to. If you guys find that, yeah. Can we crank the volume here for a sec? I'm not sure if we got the audio feed connected to it, but what's interesting here is they were trying to get him to go into the car because David was looking very professional. He was wearing a suit, he was calm, he was not misbehaving, and he was asking thoughtful and articulate questions, and the RCMP didn't like that. So they actually took his handcuffs off because it looked so bad on the RCMP to cuff a journalist, and they tried to get him to go into the car just to shut him up. He didn't want to go into the car. Oh, I think we got the audio. I got some audio going on. When you guys find it, let me know. Anyways, I'll take this time to catch up on my super chats. Isaac Downing, Trudeau might win. How can you risk a vote for PPC? Well, I'll answer that question because I'd say about half of Rebel viewers are conservatives and about half of them are Maxime Bernier PPC supporters. And here's what I say. And if you watch my nightly show, I've said this many times before. I say, first of all, it was my view at the time, and it remains my view, that Maxime Bernier ought not to have split away. He was in a hurry, but really, if he had stayed within the tent, he could have done good things within the party. He could have pulled it to the right. He could have been a more articulate spokesman than Scheer himself. And if Scheer would win the election, Bernier would be in a pole position to be in a senior place in cabinet. And if Scheer would lose the election, Maxime Bernier would be the heir apparent. And really, who wants to go through the effort of building up an entire party infrastructure from scratch? I've seen it done before. I've seen Preston Manning build parties from scratch. It is a thankless task that takes many years, and until you build up that momentum, it's just an unbelievably large job. So I didn't know why Bernier did it, but he did do it, so that's all moot now. So here's what I say to folks today. I say, first of all, if you're in a riding like Red Deer, let's say, one of the Red Deer area ridings, what is a Conservative going to get 80% of the vote there? Maybe 85%? So voting in Red Deer, it doesn't even make sense other than to feel good about doing your civic duty, because it will not make a difference, right? I mean, do you accept that the Conservative candidate in Red Deer will win even if they ran a fence post, even if it was a weekend at Bernie's type candidate? So if you are in Red Deer, why wouldn't you vote for the People's Party if you were undecided as between the two? And in a similar argument, if you were in downtown Montreal, where the chance of a Conservative Party winning is precisely zero, and so again, your vote really is meaningless, and you have no chance of impacting the outcome at all, again, why wouldn't you vote for the PPC candidate? In either way, your vote's not going to alter the outcome. There's no splitting the vote in either place. So why wouldn't you vote for the party you truly believe in there? But if you are in a riding that's a toss-up, that could go Conservative or another party, I believe you have to hold your nose and vote for Andrew Scheer. Because I think it's statistically obvious that only one of two men will be the Prime Minister on October 21st, the night of October 21st. Andrew Scheer or Justin Trudeau. It is just statistically I'm not going to say impossible, but it's as close to impossible as necessary, that Maxime Bernier could form the next government, or that Jagmeet Singh could, or Elizabeth May could. So really the question is, do you want Justin Trudeau as the Prime Minister or Scheer as the Prime Minister? And so if you're in a riding that could go Liberal or Conservative, I think you have an obligation to choose the Conservative Party, because although Andrew Scheer is a deeply flawed, indecisive, uncourageous, flip-flopping, wet noodle, no one could say he's not better than Justin Trudeau. No one could say that. Not me. So if you are in a riding that could go either Liberal or Conservative, or even if you're riding that would go Conservative or anything else, you've got to vote Conservative just to get more numbers on the Conservative side. And if you're in a riding where it could go Liberal or anything else, you got to go against the Liberals. But in the ridings, like my examples of downtown Montreal or downtown Red Deer, why would you give your vote to Andrew Scheer if he's just a wet noodle? And as I pointed out today, he said, I'm absolutely behind Ahmed Hassan's 350,000 a year migration target. Well, why would you vote for that if you were in Red Deer or Montreal? Let me go to a few more super chats. Orc Slayer Bear, 21 bucks. Your Rebel crew have been soldiers during this election. Keep up the great work. I got some videos that support your point there. Thank you. F chips in $5. Thank you for that. I'm just skimming through here. I think have I caught up? Have I caught up all the super chats? There's a couple more. Okay, I'll look at my email, because it's hard to. I'm watching the camera. I'm trying to catch everything. I'm looking at the super chats come in. So forgive me if I haven't caught them all. Here we go. Isaac Downing, Trudeau might win. How can you risk a vote for PPC? I think I just explained that in detail, didn't I? My chief quarrel with Maxime Bernier is not on policy. I actually can't think of a policy that I disagree with him on. It's not charisma or style. He's got both. It's splitism. I don't want to split the right, you know. That's what gave Jean Chrétien 3 back-to-back majorities, and then Paul Martin a minority. Okay, so I think I've caught up on the super chats. I'm going to go back on my screen here to boy, I got so many windows open. So let's go back to the election, because do we have the sound on tape? Okay, here's David. We're going to show him with great dignity when the RCMP handcuffed him. And I'm showing that I did a live chat with David on Monday, but I know not everyone here watched it then. Here, take a look at David, arrested and handcuffed by the RCMP outside a public media availability in the Greater Toronto area, just north of Toronto. Take a look.
The gentleman wanted to know. I think he said so. I don't know what for. I was on a public sidewalk, and the bus hit me, and then these guys are well, I'm just. The gentleman wanted to be there.
All right, we seem to be having a lot of problems, folks. So we'll just nuke that clip, guys. 'Cause it looks like we were playing that.
I'm just trying to answer the question. Am I under arrest? You're the one holding me. I assume you're law enforcement.
What exactly happened? Why are you in handcuffs?
Well, I was trying to get Andrew Scheer to answer some questions, such as if he's elected, will he end this media bailout? Will he privatize the CBC? What are his, why are we not allowed into a press conference and other members are? These are not gotcha questions, These are, I think, we're owed an answer to this, especially when we're escorted out. And now look at this, guys, handcuffed.
So you were escorted out and handcuffed?
No, sir. I was originally just brought out by the Durham Regional Police and told not to go on private property, even the parking lot, which I abided by. So I was on this sidewalk, and we're going to. Okay. Thank you.
I really enjoyed that clip for a few reasons. I mean, it was a terrible thing to see. But here's what I liked about David Menzies. First of all, as always, he kept his cool. I mean, I joke about it, it's not funny, but when he was accosting Jonathan Yaniv and literally being hit with the cane, he didn't even lose his cool then. He didn't even swear then. You hit me with a cane, you're gonna learn all sorts of new swear words. David didn't lose his cool. Same thing here. Can you tell me, in your entire memory or even anything you've ever read or seen historically, have you ever seen a Canadian journalist in handcuffs before? I never have, and I think I pay fairly close attention to these things. I'm in the biz. I've followed campaigns. I'm not saying, I can't even think of it. I mean, journalists have been caught up in legal matters before. There was that Vice journalist who was arrested for being a drug trafficker, but that wasn't for doing his journalism. It's because Vice had sort of this internal drug trafficking scheme, nothing to do with journalism. Journalists have been brought to court to be asked to turn over source information. I think Vice again was getting some information about an ISIS terrorist, but the journalists themselves were not handcuffed and treated like a criminal. It was going before a judge and saying, hey judge, can we see the ISIS source material? So I'm not saying journalists are free from any litigation at all. That's obviously not true. Yes, so the court said if you've got terrorist information, you can't say, oh, it's journalistically privileged. I think that's probably the right decision. If you've got information about terrorists, and I mean, let's be honest, Vice is a pro-terrorist media, as most are. I think it's generally a good rule. If you have evidence of something extremely dangerous, you can't just say, oh, I'm not going to. I think that there should be a process. I think that the government should have to get a court order and you should be able to contest it, but they did. I mean, the police didn't just smash their way into Vice and grab the hard drives. They did it properly through the courts. And no journalist was ever handcuffed, as far as I know. David was handcuffed? Why? He was standing on the public sidewalk. But look how calm and cool he was. And he was talking to reporters, and he said, look at this, guys. Here are the questions I would have asked. Look at how calm he is. And you can see that the cop, that's an RCMP officer, this wasn't going the way he planned. Can we find the second clip, the one where they open the door and try and put him in? You'll notice that the cop, that looked terrible for the cop, because a cop arresting someone can look really great and tough if it's a bad dude who's being violent and looks dangerous, and the cop is saving the day, saving law and order, upholding the law. That's sort of the opposite of what this looked like, right? David was dressed in a suit. He looked really normal. He wasn't screaming or shouting, and he was actually saying the questions he would have asked if he were allowed in. Will you do the media bailout? What do you think about this? It was very persuasive, and in fact, the one who looked bad was the cop, and you'll notice that he finally took the handcuffs off David. But I want to show you one more clip, and again, these are both from Glenn McGregor, who filmed the thing, and Glenn is a real lefty and he hates conservatives, but I got to give him credit. At least he filmed this event, unlike the rest of the media party, who just pretended it never happened. Here's the second Glenn McGregor clip. Can we play this one with sound, guys? Here, let's take a look.
You know, you're so concerned you got my wrists in a handcuff. You know.
So you'll be safe, okay?
Listen, I know I'm not part of Jerry Diaz's uniform union, but it'd be nice if you gentlemen, lady, would be give some solidarity. Can I not talk to these members of the press? Do we have freedom of press here? Do we or not? Right? Pardon me. So this is. I don't know why I'm being arrested. Thank you. Get a picture of that, sir. My own safety. The bus is gone. I was on a public sidewalk. I was not on private property. Things are under control. I'm in perfect control. You know, you guys.
Isn't that interesting there? That cop implied he was out of control. Did David look out of control to you? He looked remarkably in control. I want to tell you, I would not have been so calm if I were handcuffed for doing journalism. And they were trying to get him in the car, to shut him up, because he was winning over people, not in a big way, but the fact that he was being photographed and filmed and he was conducting himself in an orderly way. Oh, you're out of control, we got to put you in the back. No. He was in control. It's you guys who are out of control. I say again, in my 47 and a half years on this planet, I have never seen a Canadian journalist in handcuffs before. I just never have. I'm not saying it's never happened. I'm just saying I've never heard of it. In Canada, in China, Iran, North Korea, Russia, sure. Yeah, but not in Canada. I see some more super chats have come in. Garrett Sainin, $10. Thank you very much for that. David F. Was David arrested or detained? Both. And I listen, it's been a while since I did any criminal law. I haven't practiced law in over a decade. But an arrest it's a moment. It's when a cop puts a hand on you. The arrest is the legal stopping of you. The detention is to keep you. I'm pretty sure I'm accurate on that. I'm sorry, I haven't immersed myself in the details of criminal law in 20 years. But he was both arrested and detained. But he was then released without charge when the Durham Regional Police, that's the local cops, came and said, all right, what's going on? And the RCMP said, oh, well, he was on the sidewalk and blah, blah. And the Durham cops, you know what they said? I mean, if you remember when David was here on Monday, you know what the Durham cops said to David? Did they scold him? Did they threaten him? Did they warn him? You know what they said to him? They said, be careful on sidewalks around big buses, it's dangerous. They were giving him safety tips because he didn't commit a crime. The Durham cops, I think, were embarrassed. By the way, 4 squad cars came. David said there were 4 or 5 squad cars that came, taking cops off everything less important, robberies, home invasions, terrorism, whatever. No. We need 4 squad cars to come because we got ourselves a reporter who's asking about, he mentioned Jerry Diaz uniform there. I see some more super chats. Worship Warrior 12, did David stand in front of the bus so it couldn't leave? It's a constant defense of CPC narrative. Please explain as possible. No, it was a very wide sidewalk. David was on the public. I mean, listen, I don't want to rephrase David. I asked David that exact question, and we did a super chat about it on Monday. It's just simply a lie. Now, David says that the bus nudged him, and there's an 8-second video of it, which we have published. You can find that on our website. So David told me exactly what happened on Monday. I don't want to try and remember word for word what he said, but we have an 8-second video of it, and we have David explaining it. Yeah, there's a video right there. Proud Boys Calgary says, and then Menza got shoved to the ground by Trudeau's police and Keane got asked for his journalism license. Yeah, I'll show those videos shortly. Michael Lefebvre chips in $20. Thank you for that. Okay, so it's 12:28. I can't believe half an hour's gone by because I haven't even shown you anything I meant to show you. I was just sort of catching up to where we are today. Because that arrest of David, I found it shocking. And David called me, and I was shocked. And then he said, I got to go. The cops are here. It was the Durham cops, and he had to give up his phone. And I immediately got on the phone to a lawyer. Now, our regular lawyer wasn't available, so I was dealing with a lawyer who I'm not that familiar with. And I didn't know what was going on. I'm here at the office. David's in the field. He says, I got to get off the phone. So the first thing we did, well, where is he? Now, the answer is he was actually only detained for about half an hour. But so that really took up the whole day. I was sort of in a tizzy. And I thought, okay, that's obviously a big mistake. Never happened again. Oh, no. That was just the beginning of it. Let me read you one more super chat, and then I'd like to play the Keane vid. I think it's in its entirety. Ray will not chips in $5. Thanks very much. So, is this the one that we put up last night? Is that the one? When it says key and vid. Okay, guys, how long is that? 9 minutes? Something like that. I don't know if we want to play the entire thing. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Let's play the whole thing. Here we go. Take a look. This is in Montreal at the leaders' debate. Take a look.
Because I'm a journalist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
but
police.
Cool.
Okay, show me your idea of journalist. You said you're a journalist. It's just bullshit, or
No, it's not just bullshit, and I have no obligation to show you anything.
We receive a complaint against you.
You received a complaint?
Yeah.
From who?
from whom?
I don't know.
Just open
Just
it.
open it. We just want to see. We don't have the right to search.
Prime Minister, why do we live in a country where you need a journalism license? Huh?
On the sidewalk, please.
You're not going to let us ask our Prime Minister questions? The French language debate has just wrapped up here in Montreal. David Menzies and myself have been sort of walking around the campus here. TVA is what it's called. It's a Quebec broadcasting company. They've sort of brought the bus around a few times trying to confuse us so that we don't know exactly what door Trudeau's coming out of. We've had multiple police officers come up to us demanding journalism licenses. 2 undercover officers came up to me and demanded to see my journalism license, and then on top of that they wanted to conduct an illegal search of my bag. Check this out.
57788.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Just took a picture, right?
Yep.
Why? I just told you not to take a picture of my badge. I just showed you.
I'm documenting everything.
Okay, but no.
What do you mean, why? Because I'm a journalist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
but
police.
Cool.
Okay, show me your idea of journalist. You said you're a journalist. It's just bullshit, or
No, it's not just bullshit, and I have no obligation to show you anything.
and you're recording me.
Yes, I am. Because you
Why?
have a history of treating journalists who work for my organization poorly. Journalists everywhere, actually, quite
You know
poorly.
what's my job? I'm here for the protection of the Prime Minister.
Cool.
Okay, so it's my job to check if there's anything suspicious around, and if you're not, if you cannot show an ID or tell me why your real reason why you're here, then you will have to go further than this perimeter.
I've been standing here for about 10 minutes, uploading documents for work, uploading videos of the coverage that we've done here.
No problem.
Is there a problem?
No, but I need to know what's in your bag.
You have no right to know that.
Yeah.
No, you don't. This is Canada. Now we're here waiting for the Prime Minister to come out. His bus is right behind us over there. We're fairly certain this is where he's going to be. And I'm going to ask Justin Trudeau if he's proud of the Canada that he's created over the last 4 years. He's created a Canada where journalists can't be free to ask the questions that the public need answers to. He's created a Canada where you need a license to practice journalism, either from his incestuous relationship with the Parliamentary Press Gallery and the PMO, with Terry Guion being some creepy mastermind of it all. It's just despicable what's going on here in Canada. And over 4 years, you can see the change that has happened. People said that Harper was hard on the media, but they've got nothing on this Trudeau government. We're going to wait for him to come out, and we'll see if we can ask a few questions. So we've just ran around the building a few times. They just sort of did circles. It looks like they have a decoy bus over there. They're just doing everything that they can to avoid scrutiny and avoid answering questions that Canadians desperately need answers to. This is pathetic. This is beyond pathetic.
Fine. What are you doing here?
Oh, we're
Committing journalism.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. You're waiting for someone, or?
We're hopeful of asking some of the leadership hopefuls.
You have the information that there's one that's gonna get out by here, or?
Sorry?
Do you have the information that one of them gonna get out by this store? Or?
That's what a couple of the RCMP guys said, yes.
Oh yeah, they said to you?
Yeah.
Okay, which one?
Well, we'll just leave it at that. I think we don't need to tell anyone anything,
But we're fine here, right? I mean, it's a public sidewalk. Right?
Yeah, but do you have an accreditation?
no, this is Canada. So
You're a journalist?
Yes.
is there an issue with us being here?
We receive a complaint against you.
You received a complaint.
Yeah.
From who?
From whom?
I don't know.
So, someone complained about the two of us standing on a sidewalk, a public sidewalk in Montreal. Is that right, officer?
Yeah.
Okay. And the nature of the complaint, were we harassing anyone? Were we?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Just give me the name of the Rebel News.
Rebel News, sir. Yeah.
Can I have your name?
My name is David Menzies.
Menzies?
Yeah, MENZIES. But I'm very curious, why would this elicit a complaint to two journalists standing on a public sidewalk?
I don't know exactly the complaint, but someone said to me that there's two person on the sidewalk or just waiting here.
Okay.
They don't know what you're doing here.
But I bet in Montreal right now there's 500,000 people on
Can
a
I have
sidewalk.
your name, please?
No, I'm not giving you my name and
You don't
fishing
have
for
a name?
information, and
Okay.
we're not going to.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Be safe, officer. But I'm just gobsmacked by the fact that two people on the sidewalk elicits a complaint, especially since my colleague was already. Okay, bye-bye. Bonsoir.
Well,
This is my bag.
Could tell the same thing.
Moi, j'aimerais ça que I'm not gonna open your bag. You gotta show us.
What do you want me to do?
Just open it.
Just
So
open it. We just want to see. We don't have the right to search.
T'as-tu une lumière? All right. So I'm looking, wires, headphones, am I right?
Prime Minister, why do we live in a country where you need a journalism license? Huh?
On the sidewalk, please.
You're not going to let us ask our Prime Minister questions?
Can we ask questions?
You know what? It was a hell of a night. And, I mean, let's just count what you saw there. 11 police interacting with Kean, and David was there too, demanding journalism licenses and credentials. There's no such thing, by the way, in Canada. Demanding to search their bag, even though they admit they have no legal right to do so. That was a lie about we have a complaint. Really? You have a complaint from whom? I don't know. What did it say? I don't know. Really? Did the complaint come from inside your brain? What a weird lie. And then, it's just, this is so un-Canadian, so out of hand. Now, there was one moment we didn't add to that video yesterday. We should have, but I was running around. I didn't see the emails till later. Kean and David were standing there, and these two undercover cops showed their badge and said, "Show us what's in your backpack." And Kean correctly said, "No," but Kean's 23, and he got a bunch of cops threatening him. He's a very tough guy, actually, don't you think? I think most 23-year-olds would buckle. David was there too, he's in his 50s. But Kean correctly said, well, let me put you on the phone with the boss. And I guess that was me, because no other boss was available. And I didn't know this at the time, but they were recording the cops' side of the conversation. So I was here in Toronto. We were having a little dinner here, and I get the call from Kean. I'm thinking I better take this call because who knows, maybe he's in jail or arrested like David. I didn't know what was going on. And it's the cop. It's the cop who's saying he wants to do a warrantless search of Kean. And I'm here in Toronto. I don't see what's going on. I don't know, is it a riot scene? Is it happy? Is it sad? Is it dark? Is it light? How many cops are? What's the mood? I don't know. But I know one thing. I got a cop on the phone who wants to search one of my guys. And I didn't know until actually yesterday that this was recorded by Kian or David who were recording the cop side of the conversation. So you'll hear the cop a lot more loud and clear than me. Martin, do we have that tape? Here, listen to me. Oh, I was mad. Here, take a listen to this.
I'm calling because it sounds like you're harassing my journalist.
I'm not harassing. I'm just asking why.
I'd like your name and identity, please.
Norbert Couture. I'm from the RCMP, badge number 57788.
And on what basis are you interrogating or threatening to detain?
I'm not threatening anybody. I'm just asking why is he standing right beside where the Prime Minister is gonna.
Because it's a goddamn free country. Any other questions?
What? Oh my God. Ah, va donc chercher.
Any other questions? Happy to answer.
I can't see what's in his bag. He doesn't want to show his ID.
Because you don't have a search warrant, that's why.
No, I have the right to tell him. The case law, Knowlton, you know that?
Yes, I do.
All right, I have the right to tell him to stay away.
A warrantless search on him, you can expect a civil suit and a complaint to the RCMP complaint.
I was hollering. By the way, Knowlton is spelled Knowlton. We'll just tweak that. He backed off. Does that clip go on a little longer? Like I demand to speak to his boss, right? Oh, it was cut? Okay, because I think I thought I said, let me talk to your boss. Send your supervisor over, and he said okay. And then his boss had a different attitude. If we've got a longer version of that, let's put that up. I think there's a longer version. I think I heard it. So let's tweak that, and let's tweak the spelling to Knowlton. But my point is, look at the liberty those cops were taking. Would they take those liberties with the CBC or CTV or Globe and Mail or Toronto Star? Maybe. Again, I've never heard of it. Have you ever heard of a cop saying, show me what's in your bag? And the journalist, Kian, you saw him in the first video, said, no, you don't have a right. And of course, not a peep about the treatment of Kian or David by any mainstream journalists because they agree. What time is it? It's 12:42. Okay, well, thanks for letting me show my tough guy phone call with the RCMP. Let me catch up on the Super Chats. Let me catch up here. I see some. Michael Lefebvre, $20. Thank you. I already mentioned that. Enoch, yay, finally got to send a Super Chat with VPN. Super Chat's not allowed from Israel. I didn't know that. Looks to me that Canada's lost to fascism. Hard to see it reversed. Oh, I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think the UK is probably lost. I might be wrong on that. I think it's lost. But we're not as far down as them. Now, if Trudeau wins again, gets another 4 years, then maybe we will be lost. But it's not lost yet, but we're tipping. We're tipping. Michael Lefebvre, $25. This makes me so sick. How can they do that? I know why, because nobody pushes back. That's where you should sue them. Get together with crowdfunding. We will help you pay. This is my country. Those people work for me. That's right. I tell you, though, you can't sue everybody. There's just not enough time, not enough money. It's just, oh yeah, I mean, I want to fight them all, but I think I have to choose my fights because we're just a tiny little team here. Last year, we spent $350,000 on lawyers. I don't want, you know, how many journalists could we hire for that? We could like double the number of journalists we have almost. I spent that on lawyers, mainly on defense. Pre-publication review. We're being sued by Doug Schweitzer, the Attorney General in Alberta. Flying Buffalo, $20. Ezra, if you care about freedom of the press, speech in the future of Canada, you will rally the troops to support the only and best choice, Maxime Bernier. Stop saying we don't have enough numbers. There is no other option. Well, listen, I told you the math, and I told you my thinking. But I must, can we grab some Dave Rubin clips? Dave Rubin tweeted some clips of him and Maxime Bernier. Where was that? Was that out in Hamilton? Is that where that was? I've told you my affection for Bernier on the policies, and it's ironic. I think that Dave Rubin event was on like a Sunday night, I think, and it was Monday that Menzies was arrested. What a contrast. Maxime Bernier having a free speech themed event. 24 hours later, Andrew Scheer has a arrest a journalist themed event. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Why aren't all parties having a free speech themed event? Why aren't all the parties, why aren't journalists asking questions? I mean, I think we're all sick of global warming questions. I think we all know it's BS. I think we're all sick of Greta and her imbalanced, shrill shrieking. Can we have just once ever a question about free speech? Super chats. Dave, Ezra, what are the voters in Ontario going to vote? Well, I think the deeper into Toronto you get, they're going to vote Liberal and even NDP. It's the more suburban areas, or the areas that are a bit of a commute from downtown Toronto, where the Conservatives have a chance. I live in a riding called St. Paul's, which is run, the MP there is Carolyn Bennett. I think she's going to win again. It's hard for me to tell. I don't have riding level polling data. That's just my sense of the place, and I suppose my unscientific eyeballing of the signs. You go further north, further out, and the Conservatives have a chance. They have a chance. Im Bitsav, that thing is too small to be a cottony. Cottony is 1 foot in height. I'm sorry, I don't think I know what you're talking about. Okay, let's check the time. It's 12:46. Let me see. We showed the RCMP video. We showed my shouting at the RCMP video. We showed... I don't think I'm going to play the Kian Harjit Sajan video. Or maybe I will. Can we just play... I don't want the Ed Fast part of it. Can we just play the chase scene, especially the elevator scene? Because I think that's quite revealing. Can you tee up that Kian Harjit Sajan chase video? Because I want to show what the Liberals did to Kian in an elevator. You know, for those of you who have kids, or for those of you who were once kids and remember being a kid, you will remember the pure mischievous joy of getting into an elevator. The taller the building, the better. And you've got all the floors, the buttons from, you know, ground floor to like floor 60 or whatever, right? You've got all those buttons. And who amongst us hasn't, when we were kids, or maybe our kids did it, pushed every button on the elevator? Have you ever done that? Don't lie. Have you ever done that? I'm not saying as a grown man or woman. If you do that as a grown man or woman, that's too silly. But you're 3 or 4 and 5 and you do that, that's being a silly kid. And it's embarrassing if you get off the elevator with your kid and he just goes rat-tat-tat-tat through all the buttons, and you're walking out and someone just walks in that elevator and they go, oh brother, you know. Well, imagine being a Liberal Party staffer, seeing a rebel reporter trying to track down your boss, Harjit Sajan. Sajan gets in an elevator, goes up, the reporter gets in an elevator, so you run in that elevator, and what do? Tap, 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 tap. You tap all the elevator buttons. I didn't catch that the first time I saw this vid. Here, play the vid. Play the vid of the chase.
Hi, Minister. I'm wondering if you could tell me if you think it's appropriate.
What you said. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Sorry, do you think it's appropriate?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll walk with you.
Thank you.
Do you think it's appropriate to be attending a celebration for the Communist Party of China while we have two Canadians in prison there in gulags? Hi there. So would you be able to tell me, is it appropriate for you to be attending this celebration of the Communist Party while 2 Canadians are imprisoned in gulags at that country? Sorry, you're the Minister of Defense. Arguably, you have the most credibility out of any ministers to, like, when you're considering the Chinese government looking at us. Your support of their party at this event is kind of damning to our diplomatic position, wouldn't you say? Was it approved by the government, or was it a campaign stunt? Minister, please, these are simple questions. Was it approved by the government?
Which parking lot? 3.
God, you're an asshole. They're not going to leave you. It goes 3, 4, 5, so. You have to let me out of the elevator.
So, where are you trying to go?
You have to let me out of the elevator.
Out of where?
You can't hold me.
I didn't go touch that. Why you push me?
Key and chase him, finds him in there. Do I have to let you? I mean, it's just a big dummy there, that Jack Davidson, the Liberal staffer. Someone who did a super chat just emailed me and said, this is the message that failed to be attached to my $10 contribution to today's Battleground. Ezra, I find it incredible that you can so easily throw principle out the window when it comes to politics when you so obviously fight vociferously on human rights, for Tommy, for the energy industry, for free speech. On the matter of compromise, when is it appropriate? When should one stand on principle? If not now, when? A compromise of one's principles at any time intellectually disarms that individual forever. I suppose that's one way of looking at it. But we are actually in an election, and on the night of October 21st, or morning of October 22nd, there will be a tangible, practical result. And it will be one of two things. Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister, or Andrew Scheer, the Prime Minister. Those are the only two outcomes that are foreseeable. And so if you find the moral satisfaction of casting an ideologically pure ballot more important than the practical result of taking out the greater evil, then fill your boots. As I said earlier, if you're in one of those ridings where the morally preferable choice has no impact on the result, the examples I gave are downtown Montreal or downtown Red Deer. Vote as pure as you want. But if there was a district, theoretically, where Andrew Scheer was tied with Justin Trudeau, let's say they both had, the Scheer candidate and the Trudeau candidate both had exactly 20,000 votes. And the Maxime Bernier candidate had 5,000 votes. Is it actually better to give Maxime Bernier 5,001 votes? I guess that would have a tie ballot, a tie vote, and I don't know how that's resolved. Is it flip a coin or a revote? But let me come up with a simpler construct. If you and your spouse, let's say that, so you had 2 votes between you. Let's say Justin Trudeau was 1 vote ahead of Andrew Scheer, and Maxime Bernier was way back, and you and your wife went to vote. You could put your 2 votes behind Andrew Scheer, and he would win the riding. And perhaps that would make the difference between a minority or majority or whatever. Or you could spend those 2 votes on a morally purer decision to vote for Maxime Bernier, which makes more sense. I'm sorry, you can't convince me in the world of real life that it makes more sense to virtue signal in private for a moment in a ballot booth, but let the election go back to Justin Trudeau and Gerald Butts. No one is more disappointed than me in how Andrew Scheer has not been either courageous or conservative. But I am not too blind to see that he is still superior to Justin Trudeau. So that's my answer to your question. And I think I answered that before. All right, it's 12:54, and I want to take a change in subjects because we've talked a lot about the Canadian election, as is appropriate. There's a lot more videos. Someone just sent me a note and said, why don't you show the video of, did I miss a super chat? Of David being knocked down in Montreal. That's a good video too. We just don't have time to show them all in the 1 hour we have. But I want to switch gears to the United States. I said we're focusing on the Canadian election. We are. But I want to show you I want to show you someone in the audience at an Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez town hall who just let her rip. Now, I want to ask you this, okay? Let's be savvy, skeptical consumers of the media. Is this real? It certainly could be. Or is this performance art, someone who's saying, I'm going to go so far to prove how absurd this is, I'm going to go farther than even the Democrats, and let's see if I can get them to react. The Borat approach. Borat's whole vein of comedy is, let me go as far as I can go to see when I could finally make these super friendly Americans uncomfortable with my goofy Kazakhstan approach, or whatever stan he was from. So play the AOC town hall vid and pay close attention to this gal, her look, her mannerisms, her shirt, her jacket, what she says. You tell me, is this for real or is this performance art, someone mocking? You tell me.
Much long because of the climate crisis. We only have a few months left. I love that you support the Green Deal, but it's not getting rid of fossil fuel. It's not going to solve the problem fast enough. A Swedish professor saying we can eat dead people, but that's not fast enough. So I think your next campaign slogan has to be this: we got to start eating babies. We don't have enough time. There's too much CO2. All of you're a pollutant. Too much CO2. We have to start now, please. You are so great. I'm so happy that you're really supporting the Green Deal, but it's not enough. Even if we would bomb Russia, we still have too many people, too much pollution. So we have to get rid of the babies. That's a big problem. Just stopping having babies is not enough. We need to eat the babies, and this is very serious. Please give a response.
Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you. We'll go ahead. Okay. No, we'll go ahead. It's no. Yeah, no. Thank you. So I think. Yeah, no, so one of the things that's very important to us is that we need to treat the climate crisis with the urgency that it does present. Luckily, we have more than a few months. We do need to hit net zero in several years. But I think we all need to understand that there are a lot of solutions that we have and that we can pursue, and that if we act in a positive way, there's space for hope. We are never beyond hope. Okay.
I think one of the things she said there is, even if we bomb Russia, there's still too many of us. To me, that was part of the giveaway. I thought you really cared is part of the giveaway. That's sort of like showing the gimmick. The gimmick is, how much can I get you, how far can I get you to go down the road? I don't know if that's real hair. Those hair clips seemed, I don't know, there was something a little unusual there. And the fact that she was hiding her shirt for the big reveal suggests that it may have been a stunt. I thought just her look and her sound was very convincing, though. And I must say, can we call up the Greta, how dare you? The left has recently deployed Greta Thunberg from Sweden, who, by her own description at a TED Talk, has various mental illnesses, was so depressed that she once starved herself and lost 1/4 of her body weight. She's been diagnosed with various mental disorders that are being weaponized. Her depression, her selective mutism is one of the illnesses. If this eat the babies, bomb Russia thing was crazy, is it really that much crazier than what Greta Thunberg says?
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are
I mean, her face is contorted. That's not acting. I've said this before. Greta Thunberg is not acting. That's her power. The reason she's so resonant is that is how she is in her head. That's why I call it child abuse. Now let me just quickly read an amazing super chat by Mike DeWitt. Mike, $100, thank you. Keep up the good work, Mike says. Well, we'll do our best, and thank you for chipping in like that. I see it's 1 p.m. on the nose, and this show is 1 hour long. I have a show tonight at 8 p.m. We call it the Ezra Levant Show. It's named after me. I do it every day at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Today's show, I go through word by word Andrew Scheer on the CBC this week, saying he agrees with Ahmed Hassan and Justin Trudeau's 350,000 person a year immigration goal. Only 6% of Canadians want to increase our immigration like that. The most extremist 6%, and Andrew Scheer is amongst them. So I invite you to tune in at 8 p.m. for that. Until then, on behalf of all of us here at Rebel World Headquarters and our journalists around the country and occasionally around the world, goodbye and keep fighting for freedom.